Welcome to the Stoic Golden Tribe, where enduring wisdom meets the strength of present, and where we uncover the truths modern society refuses to teach men. You've been told to open up, to be gentle, to explain, to always accommodate. But after all the emotional effort, what did it bring you? Distance, doubt, disrespect, not because you lacked heart, but because you traded your edge for approval. She says she wants honesty. She says she wants connection. But deep down, she's drawn to the man who doesn't flinch, the man who speaks less but means more, the man who doesn't need to explain his worth because he lives it. Every time you try to prove your care, every time you chase understanding, you unknowingly step out of the role she respects and into the role she forgets. The emperors of Rome weren't followed because they were agreeable. They were followed because they walked with presence, spoke with intention, and led with stillness. And that's what she craves, even if she can't say it out loud. A man of direction, a man of gravity, a man whose life is not waiting for her approval, but is already in motion, grounded in purpose. You've been trained to please, to apologize for your nature, to constantly adjust, to be good enough. But that ends today, because she didn't walk away because you didn't do more. She walked because you weren't rooted in who you are. So now we return to the ancient path. We dive into 7 powerful truths about women that most men never understand, but those who do. They rise above confusion. They attract from strength. And they walk with quiet confidence through every storm. By the end of this video, you won't just feel different, you'll move different. You'll stop chasing what was never meant to be pursued and start becoming the kind of man the world quietly respects. Comment below. I rise with purpose. I lead with presence. And if this message already resonates, like the video, subscribe to the Stoic Golden Tribe and share this with a brother who's ready to wake up. 1. The power of mystery. Why the unreadable man holds her attention. There is a reason why the quiet man captures her imagination long after he leaves the room. Not because he said something special, but because he didn't say much at all. In a world where most men over-explain, overgive, and overshare in the name of closeness, you must understand something sacred. What a woman cannot fully understand, she cannot fully control, and that is what keeps her invested. A man wrapped in mystery awakens her instinct to follow, to discover, to be chosen. But a man who spills everything, his emotions, his thoughts, his plans, robs her of the very thing that stirs desire, curiosity. She doesn't daydream about the man who always explained himself. She remembers the one who left space between his words. Not because he was cold, but because he was whole, not begging to be interpreted. In ancient Rome, the strongest men were not the loudest. They were the most disciplined in speech, the most sovereign in spirit. They didn't reveal their strategy before the war began, and they didn't ask their lovers to carry the weight of their identity. Modern men confuse vulnerability with volume. They think love is proven through emotional exposure. But exposure without restraint destroys polarity. It's not her job to hold your inner world like a therapist. She doesn't want a patient, she wants a presence. Let me be clear, this isn't about playing games. It's about containing your flame, not extinguishing it. It's about emotional strength, not emotional suppression. It's about becoming the kind of man who walks into the storm without explaining the thunder in his chest. When you constantly explain, when you reveal every thought, when you turn your relationship into a confessional, you're not deepening the connection, you're diluting the mystery. Closeness does not equal depth. Predictability does not create desire. The man she truly respects does not need to be understood to feel worthy. He does not look to her reaction before standing firm on his path. And when she sees that your peace is not swayed by her moods, She finally feels safe to let go of hers. She does not surrender to the man who needs her approval to breathe. She surrenders to the man who holds his ground regardless of her emotional weather. This is what Stoicism teaches us. Self-control is not silence, it is structure. Emotional mastery is not repression. It is refinement. You want her to crave you? Don't chase closeness, build gravity, speak with clarity, not desperation. And when she searches your eyes for an answer, don't always give one. Let her wonder, not because you're playing a part, but because you're living with presence, not performance. Let your stillness be her sanctuary. Let your focus be your message. Let your path be so clear that she respects your silence more than other men's speeches. Comment below. My silence speaks with strength. If you're ready to reclaim the lost art of masculine mystery, stop explaining yourself. Let your life speak louder than your words. In an age where attention is currency and overexposure is the norm, a rare kind of man still exists. The one who does not reveal every passing thought, every wound, or every doubt to gain favor. The one who knows not everything must be said to be felt. You are not here to pour your mind out like an overflowing journal. You are not a puzzle to be solved by someone else. You are the foundation, the pillar, and the world respects what it cannot easily unravel. Share your truth with strength, not desperation. Speak your reality, but never hand over your entire mental archive. A man who seeks constant understanding becomes a man who loses his center. Because real power, it's not found in explaining, it's found in being unapologetically clear. When the urge to prove yourself rises, when you feel that itch to clarify, to convince, to confess, pause. Ask yourself, am I standing in truth, or am I asking her to make me feel whole? Roman generals didn't walk into battle announcing their strategies. They let victory speak. In the same way, let your direction speak before your emotions ever try to. Spend time alone, not in isolation, but in mastery. Use solitude not as escape, but as preparation. Because the man who can be alone with his thoughts is the man who cannot be shaken by anyone else's. Write to yourself, not to complain, but to sharpen your mind. Train your body, not for applause, but for command over impulse. Read to grow your inner empire, not to drift away from life. Meditate, not for tranquility alone, but to sharpen the blade of self-awareness. Build a life that doesn't need permission to matter. And here's the paradox. When you stop trying to be seen, you become impossible to ignore. In conversation, be deliberate, drop the filler, make silence your ally. Let every word carry the weight of thought and discipline. In behavior, say no to the temporary in favor of the eternal. Refuse chaos. Reward alignment. Let your yes mean yes, and your no mean no, with no negotiation behind it. And in relationships, lead with calm certainty, not emotional exhibitionism. She doesn't fall for explanations, she falls for presence. The man who holds his ground when she storms. The man who doesn't beg her to stay, but builds a life so aligned she wants to be part of it without being asked. Whenever you feel the pull to over-clarify. To text when nothing needs to be said. To soothe her with unnecessary words or defend yourself into emotional exhaustion. Stop. You are not here to be picked. You are here to become the man who doesn't need picking. A man so rooted in mission, in purpose, in stillness, that her emotions cannot shake him from it. Modern culture teaches men to express, to expose, to stay emotionally open, but they forget. Most men bleed emotionally all over the wrong people and call it maturity. That's not growth. That's a loss of structure. That's a man who's forgotten his frame. A high-value woman doesn't want your emotional blueprint. She wants to feel your direction, to witness your restraint, to see if you hold your peace when tested, because that tells her everything. She wants to feel your strength in silence. She wants to witness a man who can handle her fire without losing his form, a man whose mission is stronger than her emotions, not in competition with them. Mystery isn't a tactic, it's a spiritual posture. It's the discipline of a man who knows his value so well that every interaction with him feels like peeling back a new layer of power she didn't know existed. That's what holds her gaze. That's what keeps her loyal. That's what silences the noise in her world when you walk into the room. So no, don't be her diary. Be the storm she can feel before you speak. Be the presence that recalibrates the room. Be the man whose silence weighs more than weak men's words. Speak with gravity. Act with precision. Live with fierce purpose, so much so that you become the mystery she never solves but always returns to. You want to become that man? Start by subtracting noise from your life. Master your cravings. Choose stillness over explanation. Choose direction over validation. Let your life become the loudest thing about you. Let your decisions do the talking. Let your discipline do the leading. She doesn't want to hear who you are, she wants to feel it. Comment below, "My silence holds weight, because I do," if you're done explaining and ready to live with purpose. 2. Emotional control is power, and power commands respect. There is a strength few men possess, and fewer still understand. It's not in how loud you speak, not in how passionately you plead your case. It's found in this: can you remain still under pressure? A woman may appreciate your gifts, your effort, your affection, but she will never trust a man who cannot trust himself when it matters most. She's not watching your words, she's studying your reactions. When life tilts, when emotion runs high, when logic fades. She's not looking for more talk, she's looking for your energy to remain anchored, not cold, not distant, but solid, like a mountain that does not move with the storm. This is emotional control, not the absence of emotion, but the dominion over it, to choose when, how, and if it deserves a voice. Most men are ruled by their emotional weather. They erupt when challenged, they chase when ignored, they explain when silence would have held more weight. And with each moment they lose their center, they lose her respect, until there's nothing left but tolerance, and then distance. Your first mission as a man is not to conquer her, it's to conquer yourself. Because whether she knows it or not, she will test you. Not to manipulate you, not to hurt you, but because something ancient in her asks, "Can this man hold me without losing himself? Can he stay rooted when I'm spinning? Can he remain composed when I'm emotional? Can he stand still when everything inside me pulls him to react?" These tests are biological, not conscious. They come from a deep place within her spirit that craves the stability of a man who leads with his frame, not his feelings. And every time you fail, every time you yell, plead, over-explain or fold, she loses attraction. Not because she's cruel, but because your energy no longer offers sanctuary. Now it simply reflects her own chaos back to her. No woman wants to date her emotional equal. She wants the man who can remain calm when she can't. And to become that man, you don't read motivational quotes or whisper affirmations into the mirror. You train through resistance. Wake up earlier than comfort allows. Step into cold water when every part of you says no. Lift weight that humbles your pride, not for appearance, but for command. Because the man who builds discipline into his body carries discipline in his mind, and every ignored impulse, every moment of discomfort embraced, it shapes the man who doesn't flinch, the man who can feel frustration without lashing out, the man who can feel fear without folding, the man who can feel deeply and still choose restraint. Women sense this long before you speak, in the way you breathe, the way you hold eye contact without panic, in the way you speak fewer words but with more weight. In conflict, most men become noise. You will become stillness. You won't raise your voice, you'll lower the room's energy, you won't react, you'll respond. And often that response is a simple, "I'm not okay with that," or "we'll talk when things settle," or silence, followed by walking away. Not to punish, but to preserve your presence. When you live this way, her attraction shifts, it matures, it deepens, from surface-level interest to something far more dangerous, awe. Because now you're not just desirable, you're unshakable. You've become the rarest type of man, the one who cannot be emotionally manipulated, the one who doesn't beg to be heard, the one who commands attention without demanding it. The truth? Almost every man around her is addicted to being understood, desperate to prove how deeply he feels. He thinks it's romantic. But without structure, emotional transparency is just volatility. What she craves is not your poetic suffering, it's your unmoved certainty. She wants to know, can you stay calm when she's overwhelmed? Can you lead when she's lost in emotion? And make no mistake, this isn't about being passive. It's about assertiveness without aggression. It's about knowing that true strength is measured not in fire, but in control of the flame. Calm is not weakness. It's the loudest form of confidence. It's what separates men who lead from boys who chase. And this isn't just about her. This is about you. Every time you let emotion drive, you crash your own self-respect. Every time you hold your frame, you forge a version of yourself that cannot be shaken by petty conflict, empty threats, or emotional bait. This control is not a trait, it's a code. It's your armor, your compass, your edge in life. And over time, as you embody it, not through talk, but through repetition, boundaries, stillness, and clarity, you'll see your world shift, not just in relationships, but in business, in peace, in presence, in power. And the reward for all of this? It's not applause, it's silence, because no one will cheer for your restraint, but they will feel it, and she will never forget it. Comment below, calm is my power, control is my weapon, if you're building the emotional discipline that separates you from the crowd. 3. Lose your lead, lose her loyalty. The truth most men refuse to accept is that leadership isn't optional, it's oxygen in a relationship. And if you lose your lead, you lose her loyalty, because whether she says it or not, whether she realizes it or not, a woman cannot stay devoted to a man who moves like he's waiting for permission. If you don't breathe life into direction, structure, and certainty, she will suffocate under the pressure of having to lead herself. And when she's forced to lead herself, she may stay physically, but emotionally, she starts to leave. She doesn't want to mother the man she's supposed to admire. She doesn't want to guide the hand that should be guiding her. She doesn't want to constantly ask, "What do you want to do?" and hear the soul-killing words, "Whatever you want." That doesn't feel like love. It feels like pressure. And pressure to lead when she's craving to feel safe is the fastest way to kill the polarity that once drew her to you. Now understand this. Leading her doesn't mean controlling her. It means controlling yourself, so deeply, so consistently, that your presence becomes the compass she trusts when her emotions are in chaos. And most men miss this. They think leadership means big gestures, elaborate dates, loud declarations. But real leadership begins in silence. It begins in your habits, your disciplines, the way you structure your day, the way you make decisions, and the way you carry yourself when no one's watching. You stop living in reaction, you stop waking up without a plan, you stop asking others what you should do next. Because when you lead yourself, you give her something to trust. That trust becomes her emotional oxygen. It's the space where her femininity can breathe, and where she no longer has to scan for weakness or adjust to fill your indecision. she can finally relax into your direction. But if your confidence depends on her approval, if you wait for her to say yes before you move, then what you've built is not leadership. It's dependency wrapped in politeness. She will test you. She will challenge your direction, not because she wants to control you, but because she needs to feel that your path is real, that you're not leading her into uncertainty, but into something grounded and built. And when you fold at the first sign of her resistance, when you abandon your vision to keep her smiling, you might win the moment, but you lose her faith. And once her faith is gone, her attraction follows. And once that's gone, you're just a roommate she used to respect. So lead in the small ways first. Plan your days, protect your time, decide where you're going, and invite her into that plan, but never make her responsible for it. She wants to feel your kingdom. She wants to feel the rhythm of your life. She wants to follow the energy of a man who doesn't wait to be chosen, a man who moves whether she joins or not. And if she won't follow, let her walk, because leadership is also the courage to lose what doesn't align with your mission. You say, "This is where I'm going. You're welcome to come." But I'm not waiting. That energy, that self-respect, that sense of direction that doesn't beg to be validated, that's what separates a man she dates from the man she devotes herself to. She's not looking for perfection. She's looking for direction. She's not chasing dominance. She's craving consistency. She doesn't need a dictator. She needs a builder. And when you build with discipline, lead with presence, and live with vision, she will follow, not because you convinced her, but because she feels safe to trust you. Lead with your life, not your lips, and watch everything change. Comment below, "I lead from discipline, not from need." 4. The man who needs her approval will always lose her respect. There is no faster way to lose a woman's respect than to seek her approval. The moment you start asking for permission to be yourself, whether in your tone, your truth, or your choices, you stop being a man in her eyes. You become a boy in need of praise, and no matter how kind, intelligent, or charming you are, once she senses that you need her validation to feel secure, the flame of desire starts to dim. You might believe you're being loving. You might believe that checking in constantly makes you emotionally intelligent. But what you're actually doing is broadcasting one thing: uncertainty. And uncertainty in a man creates discomfort in a woman. Not because she's cruel, not because she's shallow, but because a woman cannot relax into the energy of a man who doubts himself. Validation is not connection. It's a silent cry for approval. We live in a world that tells men to express more, feel more, ask more, but expression without strength is not intimacy, it's insecurity in disguise. A man who asks, "Was that okay?" after every statement isn't being thoughtful. He's broadcasting weakness. He may not say it out loud, but every look for approval, every soft backpedal, every "sorry" he utters just to avoid a little tension, is his way of saying, "Please like me." But the truth is, if you need her to tell you you're enough, you never were. Attraction requires edge, and edge requires boundaries. A woman does not desire a man who melts under pressure. She wants a man who stands his ground even when she doesn't like it. That means you don't apologize unless it's necessary. You don't explain unless it brings clarity. You don't shrink your truth because she looks disappointed. Because if you start molding your words around her mood, you stop being a man with structure, and you start becoming a reflection of her emotion. That's not leadership, that's erosion. And no woman is drawn to a man she has to constantly manage emotionally. She wants to lean on you, not raise you. She wants to feel the depth of your presence, not parent your confidence. Mystery is born in self-reliance. When you stop asking, she starts wondering. And that mystery, that stillness, that inner knowing that radiates from you, it captivates her. Not because you're playing games, but because you're not playing anything. You're grounded. You speak because you believe what you say. You act because it aligns with your principles. You stand in silence when needed, not to punish, but to preserve your presence. This is real Stoicism, not the quotes you post, not the books you skim, but the lived, earned energy of a man who doesn't need applause to stay centered. Respect first, then love, always. Most men chase love, hoping that love will earn them respect. But they have it backwards. Women don't fall for the man who chases her with words. They fall for the man who carries himself like a world she wants to enter. That kind of man doesn't beg. He doesn't wait for permission. He doesn't perform for approval. He lives fully, with values, with vision, with spine. And if she doesn't respect that energy, he walks quietly, confidently, without anger, because he's not trying to be accepted. He's already accepted himself. And in doing that, he becomes the rarest kind of man, a man she cannot control, only admire. Comment below. I choose to be respected before I'm loved. A man who refuses to be an option becomes a standard. There is a quiet pain that lives inside many men, the pain of being someone's second thought while giving them first place. It's the slow erosion of self-worth that happens when you allow a woman to treat you like a placeholder, all while you treat her like a prize. But here's the truth that too many men avoid. If she doesn't treat you like a priority, you're already just an option. And once you accept that position, no amount of loyalty, chasing, pleasing, or proving will ever promote you to first. You become familiar, predictable, convenient. And convenience never commands respect. It invites complacency. Because when a woman realizes you'll always be there, no matter how inconsistently she shows up, she stops earning you and starts tolerating you. And what's tolerated will eventually be discarded. That's why this chapter is not just a warning. It's a wake-up call. Never be the man who waits to be chosen. Be the man who chooses himself. When you place your identity in her hands, her affection, her texts, her mood, you've already surrendered the throne of your masculine power. Suddenly you're decoding emojis at 2 a.m., rereading conversations for clues, holding your breath for a text that may never come. That is not love. That is emotional slavery. You were not born to beg. You were built to build. A high-value man doesn't audition for roles he didn't write. He doesn't wait for a flaky woman to figure things out while he withers in confusion. He assesses, he observes, and if the energy is inconsistent, he steps back not to punish, but to protect. You see, the difference between a man who is respected and one who is forgotten is how he enforces his standards, because there will come a time when she tests your boundaries. Consciously or not, she'll pull back, flake, delay. And if you keep showing up, forgiving quickly, and overcompensating, you're not showing loyalty, you're showing low standards. Women don't fall for the man who chases them. They fall for the man who chases something greater than them and invites them along. Purpose, vision, legacy. That's what turns a man into a magnetic force. So instead of asking, why doesn't she pick me? Ask yourself, why am I waiting to be picked at all? Do you not see what you bring to the table? Your presence, your focus, your discipline, your word, your ambition? Those are currencies of the highest order. But when you devalue them by handing them out to anyone who gives you half effort, you tell the world you don't know your own worth. A man who knows his value does not argue for attention. He redirects it. He doesn't chase validation. He generates it. So what do you do if she treats you like an option? You vanish, not out of pettiness, but out of principle. You remove your energy from places where it isn't honored. You stop over-explaining. You stop justifying your worth. You stop adjusting your schedule for someone who sees your time as disposable. Instead, you build. You train your body until it becomes a fortress. You feed your mind until it becomes your sharpest weapon. You stack your skills, your finances, your goals until your life becomes a kingdom that demands respect simply by existing. And here's the twist. Once you no longer need her validation, she will feel it. Once your energy becomes self-contained, magnetic, focused, she will notice. Not because you're trying to be noticed, but because you've stopped trying at all. You've entered the realm of true masculine independence, the place where a woman doesn't complete you, she complements the empire you're already building. But this mindset only works if you live it. Don't just talk about standards, enforce them. Don't just imagine the man you could be, become him. And when someone doesn't match your level of clarity, consistency, or care, don't beg. Walk. Not to teach them a lesson, but to teach yourself a truth. The moment you stop accepting less, the world starts offering you more. Comment below. I will never be an option. I choose to become the standard. 6. Mastery over desire. There comes a moment in every man's life when he looks around at everything he's done, everything he's tolerated, everything he's chased, and realizes that none of it filled the hole inside him. The attention, the affection, the pleasure, it never lasts. It fades faster than it arrives, leaving him emptier than before, more dependent, more distracted, more lost. And that moment is terrifying if you're not grounded in something bigger. This is where most men fail, not because they aren't capable, but because they've been conditioned to live for pleasure, to chase the next high, to pursue the next validation, to find meaning in the fleeting affection of someone who never even understood their soul. What they don't realize is that this pursuit kills their masculinity. It destroys their discipline. It silences their potential. You cannot be at your strongest while being a slave to comfort. And this is why mastery of desire matters, not as some motivational slogan, but as the oxygen to your masculine fire. Because when a man finds purpose, everything else becomes clear. His distractions lose their power, his temptations lose their grip, his emotions find balance, and the drama he used to attract becomes boring. He's now lit from the inside. To truly live with purpose, you must first disconnect from the idea that your value comes from how many women want you, how many likes you get, how many compliments you collect. That mindset makes you a puppet, not a force. Instead, you must build something, a body that intimidates your excuses, a mind that solves problems others run from, a life that demands discipline before it demands approval. Most men try to do this backwards. They want the lifestyle before the lifestyle wants them. They want the car, the girl, the peace, but they skip the pain, the grind, the sacrifice. You can't shortcut your way to purpose. It's earned in the moments no one sees. The 5 a.m. workouts when your body begs you to sleep. The nights alone grinding your craft while others party. The rejections you eat with a straight face because you know they're building resilience, not regret. When you live like this consistently, intentionally, everything changes. Not just your confidence, but your aura, your standards, your peace. And suddenly, women don't just notice you, they wonder what world you're building without them. You've stopped orbiting around them. That shift is everything. Attraction isn't about having charm, it's about having direction. When a woman sees that your time is precious, that your presence is earned, not freely given, she feels something ancient, respect. And that respect becomes attraction. That attraction becomes devotion, not because you begged for it, but because you embodied what she craves without even trying. This only happens when you live for something that isn't her. When your mission is so real, so structured, so painful at times, that you simply don't have the energy to chase dopamine anymore. Because now you're chasing greatness, and greatness has a cost. It costs you comfort. It costs you casual sex. It costs you wasted weekends. It costs you mediocre friends. And yes, it even costs you some relationships, but it gives you everything you've been silently starving for: clarity, strength, purpose, and most importantly, self-respect. And that is the real reward, not the lifestyle, not the validation, but waking up every day and knowing you're living life on your own terms. And no one, not even her, can take that away from you. Because now you're no longer the man who needs a woman to feel masculine. You're the man who is so deeply masculine that he elevates everyone around him. That shift doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you get brutally honest with yourself about what you've been running from, about the ways you've sold yourself out for quick pleasure, about the goals you've abandoned, the body you've neglected, the skills you've delayed learning. And you take that pain, not to wallow in it, but to weaponize it, to turn it into fuel, into fire, into forward motion. And the more you lean into that fire, the stronger you become. Yes, it will be lonely at times. But loneliness in pursuit of greatness is peace compared to the company of people who keep you mediocre. And the man who accepts that trade-off is unstoppable. Because he no longer fears being alone, he fears being average. And that fear keeps him sharp, keeps him focused, keeps him disciplined, because now he knows that his life is not about pleasure. It's about presence, progress, and legacy. When he shows up with that energy, that leadership, that fire in his eyes that says, "I don't need you, I'm building something with or without you," women notice. Not because you said the right thing, but because you've become the thing she didn't even know she needed. Now, your purpose has made you irresistible. Not by force, but by frequency, by energy, by presence. The world bends to that kind of energy. Not because it's perfect, but because it's real. And in a world full of boys chasing likes and lust, you've become the rare man chasing meaning. And she'll feel that before you ever open your mouth. She doesn't want you to be perfect. She wants to feel you're unshakable, not because you silence her, but because you no longer silence yourself. When you walk in purpose, rooted in direction, power, control, and vision, she can finally rest in your presence, not because you chased her, but because you became the man who no longer needs to. And everything you've just heard, it's not about tips or tactics. It's about returning home to the man you were always meant to be, the man who leads, not follows, the man who moves, not reacts, the man who chooses peace over validation and purpose over pleasure. When you stop chasing her, you start attracting everything that aligns with your power, and the world opens, not when you beg, but when you build. So from this moment forward, no more explaining. No more waiting, no more doubting, just action. If this hit your soul, if even one sentence cracked your old identity and exposed the man you could be, then say it, own it, comment it loud. I am done chasing. Like, share, subscribe, and never settle again for average, for begging for less than you deserve.